make you a co-host. Okay, so while you're working on that, Mike, I'll just formally start this tonight's session. And like I said earlier, we're very happy and looking forward to tonight's event. And it's some kind of I call it like a not typical kind of strategy that both of you guys have experienced. So basically, our group is consists of Filipinos, Philippines, and we live here in Canada. And there's a lot of this group is composed of beginners, intermediate, and a couple of experts in real estate investing. So we thought of making this where in this market it's not a lot of Filipinos are in this real estate industry. So, it's kind of our own family, we call it, and something that, we can learn from each other. And, we didn't realize that a lot of Filipinos are also interested in this kind of journey. So, so right now our group are almost 300 members. These are composed of, we got a lot of professionals here. We have engineers, we have people from the healthcare, finance, we have some mortgage, we have some realtors. So it's a combination of professionals and a lot of members that also give or share some knowledge and experiences. So and that's why every month we'd like to make some information sessions for the members. And this month we're featuring you guys. And maybe if you can start, just introduce any background.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. I don't know if can we hear? Oh, I have to unmute Vince. Let's see. Trying to get my brother's mic to work. Oh, Vince. Okay. Yeah, perfect. We can hear you. Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks for having us. We're excited to do this, to share anything. I mean, first off, good on you guys. I don't know if any of you have read the book Think and Grow Rich, but I think one of his principles there was the mastermind principle. And it's great minds can really help each other. And when you get together like this, and it's just you'll learn a bunch from each other, and you'll grow accordingly. So good on you guys, and good on you, Dennis, for kind of organizing this. No, yeah, and again, thanks for letting us share this. So what we wanted to share with you, or what Dennis wanted us to share with you, is our build to rent strategy. It really, we'll get more into it, but I mean, it is what it's exactly what it says. It's building your own rental, basically, which is not the common approach to real estate investing. So just for today, kind of a quick agenda. We have just an introduction. Want to share kind of what we built, how we get started, why we like new construction, why we like multifamily townhomes, what each project brings, and then we'll kind of break down the numbers and then share some resources with you. So that's just kind of what we have planned. We didn't rehearse this or anything, so we're just kind of going on the whim. So bear with us, guys.
Casual, it's fine.
Yeah. And then, so we'll just kind of get into it. So about us individually, that's us there. I couldn't find a picture recent of us, so we're a lot skinnier, a lot younger in that picture there. But just a little bit. What's that, Vince?
Much skinnier. I wish.
Yeah. So just a little bit about us individually. I'll start with Vince. If you want to chime in on anything, Vince, feel free. But Vince earned his Bachelor of Commerce degree, focusing in accounting, in 2006 from the University of Windsor. He earned his CPA designation in 2010 and worked in public accounting for 3 years before he moved on to commercial banking for the last 12 or so years. And big news recently, Vince just became the new owner of Unimore Capital Corp, which is a brokerage here in Windsor that focuses on mortgages and private loans. I think the goal there for Vince, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to kind of focus a little more on the investor side when it comes to mortgages and private loans. And Vince is married with a father of 3. And then myself, I earned a Bachelor of Commerce degree in marketing in 2011, and then a Bachelor of Education in 2012 from the University of Windsor. I worked as a supply teacher for 2 years. The job market was tough, and I kind of took a U-turn, went self-employed in the life insurance benefits and pension world. I've been working as a consultant for that for the last 7 years. And then I'm married with I'm father of 1, and I got 1 on the way in July. So life is definitely, thank you. Life is definitely going to get busier. About us together. So Vince and we've been investing in real estate for just over 7 years. Vince started a little ahead of me, being the older brother. Total, I might be wrong here because I know, Vince, you've sold a couple, but total, we own about 10 rental housing units and about 3 mobile homes between the 2 of us. We own and manage a Terrion licensed home building company. The company's Belkaza Inc. If you guys are curious, you can go on Instagram at Belkaza Inc. Just to check out what we do. That company started after these build to rent. So we kind of got familiar with building homes through our build to rent. And then we started a licensed home building company. So don't think we are, we were experienced when we got into this anyways.
Your both degrees are not really in construction.
Yes, exactly. And then together we own and manage an online business. The website is quest4cashflow.com. The website focuses on just alternative investing mainly for cash flow. So you guys can check that out. And there's some resources at the end I'll share with you guys after the fact. But yeah, that's pretty much us in a nutshell. Vince, anything you wanted to add? Or
yeah, you know what? I'll just chime in for a second. Dennis's point, and Mike prepared the slides, so I'm not necessarily familiar with everything that's in them, and you might touch on this, but no, Dennis, to your point, we had 0 experience in construction before, before getting started with building homes. Our background, I mean, we're Italian. We know a lot of people in the construction industry, I guess, here in our local market, so that helps having contacts, but aside from that, we were pretty much starting from scratch. We kind of did all our own homework on how to get started, and yeah, and we just ran with it. So for anybody in the group, don't think you need that construction background in order to implement this strategy. So anyways, I'll let you continue, Mike. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. So typically what we build, so the build to rent strategy, like I said, is pretty much the way it's described. It's building your own rental property. So there's so many different ways to do it. Typically what we like to do, and it is becoming a little more difficult in this market, but I mean, still possible. We like to look in developed subdivisions and try and pick up the odd lot or 2. And we focus on multi-unit. So we try and build semi-detached units. So I have a picture there of one we're actually building right now in Kingsville, Ontario. You can see it there. So these units, they're a semi-detached unit. So they're basically their own house, just attached by one wall, right? So they all get their own garage. They all get their own side of the driveway. They get their own backyards and all that. That's typically what we like to focus on. Now, there's no right or wrong way to do this when it comes to building your own rental, but we find that's the best approach, and we'll talk about why. But typically, we look for 2 to 4 unit row housing. So like that picture there, they're just houses in rows. Depending on what the restrictions are on the lots and things like that, will kind of judge or dictate what you build. but we typically like to look at 2 to 4 possible units to build on it. Preferably, we like to build a raised ranch style. Some subdivisions will have restrictions based on what you can build, but preferably the raised ranch is our go-to, just because it is the most cost effective to build. And we've been finishing them with unfinished basements, but we never did this in the past. But if we go ahead on any new project, we plan on putting great entrances in there, because I think the future to get these things to cash flow is if prices keep climbing, will be duplexes. So we want that possibility of having a future duplex conversion or whatever. But that's typically what we're looking at in when we're describing this concept. That's typically what we're looking at building.
Ultimately, in our market, when we got started, prior to the housing market really exploding, I guess, semi-detached were kind of the extent of row housing in our community. So ultimately, I think the goal is row housing. It doesn't have to be just a semi-detached 2-unit. It can be 4 units, 6 units. Truly, I mean, economies of scale. So the more the better. It's just anything more than a semi-detached was non-existent in our market just a couple of years ago. The row housing is just starting to kind of come into play in the Windsor Essex market. So
yeah, and that good thing about Mike, you brought it up, like the basement of the future duplex possibilities. Like you have side entrance, rough ins for probably some kitchen or washroom, because that's where our market is going now, right? So
yeah, right. And it's and yeah, you're looking at these, like the projects we're looking at today. Just a full disclosure, this one here, this is typically what we would build for a build to rent, but this one we did sell one side on a as a licensed build. The other side we still debate, keep it as a rental or sell it off. We'll see what the market says. But yeah, no, typically when we're looking at these projects, when we're looking at cost to build and what rents are today, these things used to cash flow just on the main level, and now they're probably running tight on cash flow anyways. But that's where, if you turn it into a duplex, they should cash flow quite well. But there's going to be a point where we can see it, if prices keep rising, that 1 unit or on the main level will probably be negative cash flow. So you're probably going to want to do a basement at some point to get these things to cash flow. But anyways, we never did that in the past. And a great entrance is a lot more expensive to put in after the fact than
yeah, and the right thing to do is probably right off the get-go. I mean, if your intent is to hold on to them as a long-term rental, is even to get them separately metered, the upstairs and the downstairs, so you can have separate utilities for both. Again, our approach in the past was, we also kind of took resale into account, and the expectation was you'd be, selling to, somebody looking to reside in the property. But I think the market has shifted, and you're probably just as well off selling to an investor in the future who might pay a premium if you have those separately metered.
So just wanted to get into how and why we got started. So when we were first looking into real estate, we kind of ran into 3 roadblocks, and I'm sure you guys have been running. If you've been investing for a while, you have been running into, and you're still running into the problems. But the 3 biggest roadblocks for us was a competitive market, which led to B, high purchase prices, and we're seeing multiple offers and things like that. It just gets kind of frustrating. And then when you finally do get that house, or you see a project that's worth it, there's renos that need to be done, and renos are hard to budget, right? You peel something back, you don't know what's behind that wall or whatever. New builds, you don't really run into that. You kind of know what's coming up front, whereas we just never were renovation guys. So our solution, as crazy as it sounds, we just said, well, forget this craziness. Let's just build our own house. Let's build our own rental. So a little unorthodox, but that's kind of how we got started. We just got fed up with the products we were seeing, and we thought we'd build a product that we liked ourselves for the market. So why new construction rentals? The biggest reason we love this strategy is because you can still build a house in that kind of affordable starter price point, but because it's brand new, you're attracting just like that high class tenant. So, typically in that same price range in our area, you're looking at you're typically looking at single family homes, but they're older, and you're just not attracting the same tenant that you do get on these new construction rentals at the same price point, just because people will pay a premium to sit in something that's brand new. Everything's clean, everything's working, and you get that premium. The other reason is low maintenance. Once you build these things, after the first, you'll get some hiccups in the first few months, just for whatever reason, things haven't been tested out. But after that first few months of a tenant living in there, there's very little you have to do for years. Your furnace is new, your roof is new, everything's new. So there's a lot less, once the construction's done, there's a lot less calls you're going to have to field in those first few years you have this house, just because the house is pretty maintenance free. And then the third reason we like it is just as the market as a whole, right? Rising rental rates. I just put a little chart there. You guys know the story. It's been, the rentals have been increasing in Canada for quite a while, and we just don't see that stopping. So we just think a house that is new and will last us a long time and will be desired for a long time is why we is why we got into this game in the first place. I don't know if there's anything you want to chime in on there, Vince, or
no, the other thing, I guess a fourth point could be like the stickiness of tenants. Most of, from our experience, our tenants, they treat it like it's their own house because they're the first ones to live there, and it becomes this almost pride of, they treat it like pride of ownership. So anybody we've had truly hasn't left, which can be a good and a bad thing in the rising rental rates market. But ultimately, it's a good thing. We usually have our pick of the litter when it comes to placing a tenant in the property. There's usually a high demand, and fortunately, if you put a good tenant in there initially, you want them to stay, and they do stay. They have stayed.
The one thing to go kind of back on the tenants, I think the one thing we've noticed that it really attracts is kind of the two markets. You get that young professional wanting to get into something entry level, and then you're getting a lot of baby boomers, empty nesters, downsizing, maybe selling their big 3,000 square foot houses and moving into this 11 or 1,200 square foot semi. They still want their backyards, they still want their garages, they just don't need the size. So I think that's typically what we're seeing on these units. So why multifamily? I think it mostly speaks for itself, but we'll kind of jump in. A lot of, I don't even know why I put that point there. Vince, you want to comment on that, building lot restrictions?
Well, I think, not every development allows for obviously for row housing. So I'm not sure why you put it in there, but that I think the appeal is to us, finding those developments that allow for multi-unit. It just, to your second point, economies of scale. It just really, at least in our market, doesn't work in a single family home. It's kind of for the most part, the lot price is the same for a single family home versus the ability or the lot size to put 2 units. So the more, again, I know numbers differ per market, but in our market at the moment, you're paying, call it anywhere from $5,500 to $6,500 a front foot for a single family home. Well, that same lot size, if it can accommodate 2 units, you're probably paying maybe an extra 500 a front foot. So yeah, so you benefit from those economies of scale. So every new development, every subdivision, which Mike mentioned earlier, we like to target new developments just because the services are already there. It's kind of just, it's ready to go. Every new development does come with certain restrictions as to what you can and can't build. So, before you do, pull the trigger on a lot purchase, it's important to, kind of just pay attention to those restrictions.
So maybe this is more so applicable to like maybe in an existing vacant lot that it's zoned only for a single unit, or it really depends on the zoning probably.
Yeah, very much so. And like I said, I mean, you can take this strategy and apply it to infill lots in an established neighborhood. And I'm sure there's people in this group who are far more advanced than us in terms of understanding the zoning requirements and navigating the municipalities. And hey, you can find what's zoned for single family now, and maybe have it converted to be able to build more than one unit on it. So there's we've taken the very simplistic approach, and it's becoming hard. Truthfully, it's becoming harder to just to find these new developments and find a lot that's ready to go, because you're competing with a lot of bigger builders who are buying up as many as they can. But the opportunity in our market, anyways, is still there. But that being said, we are seeing more and more, and we're looking more and more into the infill lot type opportunities where it requires a little more legwork. But I think the returns could be greater.
We talked about it, how they attract our favorite tenants, retirees and first-time home buyers. So I won't get too much into that. And then the other thing is just they have great resale value. So every time, because they are newer, because we've been building these in new subdivisions, so the areas themselves are newer and things like that. They just have a great resale value because people want to be in a nice area. People want new. That's a really big selling point of these, is just the fact that they're all new. Like people are attracted, they'll pay a premium for just that little bit of shiny and new. So they do hold their value. I know Vince just sold a couple last year with your other partner. And they went for a pretty penny and a little premium compared to if you went on an older home at that same kind of size. So these numbers, these are a little outdated. Dennis, I don't know if you remember, I shared you, when you asked us to do this presentation, I said I'll share an older presentation we kind of already had done in the past. So these are a little older, these numbers, but what we just want to show you is kind of what each project brings. I took a lot of this from a house we built back in 2015. Oops, sorry. So what this project brings, the reason you get into, the reason we do all this work to do this is because the immediate equity you build from building one of these. So that one's old, but one of our projects, it was a 2-unit house. We built about 92,000 in equity. We used a lot of private loans to fund it. But when it came out of it, our out of our pocket, we figured was about $14,000, and it built us about 92,000 in equity, which is pretty huge. It took us about close to a year to build it. But the work was worth it in that sense. It wasn't a full-time job for us. We were doing it behind desks for the most part. So for us, the work was definitely worth the equity.
And that number has gotten far greater than I guess in 2015 or whenever this was from. The margins haven't really changed. It's just that the dollar values have gotten greater. So naturally that absolute dollar amount of equity has increased quite significantly over the last 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, and we'll break out the numbers in a little more detail. Just recognize, they're a little older. the next, it brings positive monthly cash flow, which I think is what all of us real estate investors are looking for, right? And typically the rents are based on the market prices. So the reason these things kind of cash flow so well is just because you're building them for slightly under what market value is, and that's your sweat equity going into the house. So you can either decide to refinance it and build that equity, or you keep some of that equity you've built into it for a lower mortgage and higher cash flow. But when we were building these, we were getting about 600 to 800 per month of cash flow per project. So typically about $300 to $400 a month in cash flow per unit. And that was because when we were done, we refinanced it to the max. We probably could have got more cash flow if we wanted to leave more money in the project, but we were refinancing it to the max, whatever we can get our appraisal done, and 80% loan to value is kind of what we took. And then we took that money and put it into the next project and so forth. So that's how we played that. We've been playing that game. Each project, we've talked about it. It brings great tenants. I don't have to keep kind of harping on that point. And then we just like to think it brings you one step closer to what I think we're all trying to achieve in this real estate game, is financial freedom. We call it the position of FU, but we won't get too much into that. That's more of our slogan. Dennis, I know you've seen our website, so that's kind of our slogan for our website. But that's why we do this. That's why we do this. It's to hopefully just one day, have a little bit of financial freedom and do the things we want to do in life. Because I think that's what we're all striving for, right? Just live the life on our own terms. So I just want to break down kind of the numbers on how they work anyways. So this project was back in 2015. So the numbers are low. Like, I don't even know if you guys had these numbers back in 2015. And I think you guys are from the GTA, right? I think most of you.
Yeah, most of us, but yeah, we're all over Canada now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. So yeah, so very cool. So in Southern Ontario, I know our prices are usually a little lower than what you guys are seeing in the GTA area. But back in 2015, we got the property appraised. So it was a 2-unit. What were those ones on Tyler, Vince? How big were they? 1,200, 1,100?
Yeah, those were, I believe, somewhere between 1,100 and 1,200 square feet.
Okay, so these were raised ranches, around 1,100 square feet. So at the time, they got appraised at $530,000. The cost of the land back then was $80,000. That things have definitely changed, but the cost of construction back then on those was about $340,000, and our closing costs were about $4,000. So total construction costs with land was about $424,000. So when you do the math, we built about $106,000 in equity based on what it cost us to build, minus what the appraised cost or the appraised value was, which was pretty much the market value. Because it was a new subdivision, your appraisal really is the market value, because all the houses in your area have previously sold. So you kind of get a pretty accurate appraisal anyways. And then we used, what did I do here? And then we used a private loan to fund our project. So we figured we paid about $14,000 in interest throughout that project. So we look at it, at the end of the day, the total equity we built in the house was $92,000. Total money invested was $14,000. So our ROI about 557%. But bear in mind there was a lot of time involved in that too. So whatever our time was worth is, you could factor that into your return on investment. But for us, we did it all from pretty much behind our desks. Went to the project in the morning and maybe once at night on the way home from work, and we were able to pull it off. So for us, the time was definitely worth the time and headache or the headaches anyways. Anything you want to add to that, Vince, or pretty good?
No, that's good.
I just wanted to backtrack So I think from what you've discussed previously, you chose a land that it's already like the subdivision. So you were able to avoid any development fees or whatever land
Correct.
costs. Yeah.
Yeah. And the nice thing with these was we were able, so it's becoming more difficult, but when back in those days, when you were going into a new subdivision, a lot of times before they sold like hotcakes, the developers were giving you vendor take back loans. So you could purchase, the land was 80,000. We probably put like I don't even remember, a $10,000, $20,000 deposit. And then the builder held terms for a year. So we would build on the house or build on the land. And then when the house was completed and we got a mortgage, that's when we paid out the rest of the loan or whatnot, the rest of the amount due on the land. So today you're finding that a lot more difficult. Developers, because land is selling so quickly, they're wanting all the cash up front on the land. So just another obstacle we kind of have to go through. But yeah, we would work in a we would at that time we would try and work in a finished subdivision. That same lot today would probably cost like 350, 375. Vince, what do you think?
Probably. I mean, definitely an added obstacle now, and an added challenge having to pay for the lot up front. But in a way, it's also created an opportunity again, because for the last few years, it's been very difficult to pick up 1, 2, 3 lots. Now with the developers not holding terms, your competitors can only purchase so many lots. So there is an opportunity again to, for the individual looking to just pick up 1 or 2 kind of odd lots. You're seeing more builders in a subdivision, as opposed to just a couple of years ago it'd be 1 or 2 builders in every subdivision. So an obstacle, but also an opportunity, at least in our market anyways.
So, I mean, that's pretty much what it entails, or what a project entails. We could talk here forever about how to build a house, and that, we could be here forever. So we're not going to teach you today on kind of how to build a house. But the one thing we just want to say, it sounds hard and complicated, right? It's, I got to build my own house. What? But we just want to just kind of push the point across that we think anyways, because, we're just, if we could do it, anybody could do it. So we just want to stress the point that you don't have to be a licensed builder to kind of pull something like this off. And you don't need to be that handy in construction. I mean, we can't really do anything ourselves. We probably can't. We can barely swing a hammer. I don't know if you want me to tell any stories about you, Vince, and your construction.
I'd rather you not, because I'll one up you with one about you.
Yeah, exactly. I've got we've got some good stories where how we are so not handy. So
well, we're ready to listen, man. Take a share.
Beer all night, Dennis. You don't want
that. But no, we've always been the types of guys who, we hire out. If we need something done, we hire out even the smallest things, right? We're not Mr. Fix-Its ourselves. So if we can do it, anybody can do it. And the big thing, more than being a construction guy, is you need to just be a great project manager. If you're going to get into this, you need to build your contacts. You need to have a plan and a schedule, and just be able to kind of stay on it and stay on your contacts. It really comes down to your contacts and your plan. Anything you want to add, Vince?
No, just emphasize the fact that this is project management. I mean, so you are much further ahead being a good project manager than being somebody who's handy. If you're both, fantastic, even better. But that's what this is. It's organization, it's coordination, and ultimately project. That's the skill set you should have, or you need to establish, or bring on a partner that has that, because you can. I mean, whether it's, through us or somebody else, the steps to, to build a house from A to Z, they're there. You just need to execute them.
Yeah. I think I think the big thing with this is building your Rolodex of trades. I mean, it really comes down to once you get the lot and once you get your drawing done based on, what kind of unit you want to build, the rest is lining up the proper trades to get it done. And they will help you along the way. Those are your construction guys. Those are your experts. So if you have, you have a plumbing issue, you talk to your plumber. You have an electrical issue, you talk to your electrician. They'll kind of show you the way on kind of what's next in the steps. And so I think that's pretty much it for that. I mean, I don't know if we want to do I think Dennis, you want to do like a question period or something. We're more than willing to answer questions.
For sure. So it's more of like like this is also new to the team, and I think probably some of the members have they've done renovations and sort of related to construction item. But I wanted to know, and I wanted to share it with the team maybe when you did this build to rent, like what was your major hiccup or challenges when you started? I mean, you already have your land, but was there any time that you just say like, you know what, this isn't gonna work? Like, was there a time like that?
Yeah, here's the thing. I'd say, I know I've been saying all along that you don't need that construction background, but and I didn't have that, and I've established it somewhat over the years, but that's just still not how my brain works. So I'd say the challenges were, construction specific. You do. I mean, throughout the project, you'll come across issues, and you can, if you can sit there and pull your hair out if you're, but if you've done the work up front to have the right partners in the project, and by partners, I mean mostly the trades that you work with, the access to information is there. You just need to know who to ask. So I'm trying to think of something specific right now, and I honestly can't. But for sure, there were times during the build where I came across an issue that you think it's oh boy, something's this house isn't going to pass inspection. It does. There's an answer to everything. It's not building a house at the end of the day is not rocket science, and your worst case scenario, unfortunately you spend a little more money than you had budgeted to fix the problem, but that's probably a mistake you'll never make again.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, if you're not experienced, I think that the biggest obstacle you're gonna run into is not being taken seriously in that construction world. And I think that's where I think we've done well is we've always treated our trades with respect, and we knew the things to fight over and the things not to. And I think price and and paying on time go a long way. It's our trades recognize that we usually don't argue on price because we know they're good trades. We know they do a good job, and we make sure we pay them on time so they come back. And then when you have that, like Vince said, if you're going through inspections and inspector has a question, that trade that you treated well, your plumber, your electrician, or anyone will be there to help you answer those questions and get that inspection passed, and they'll be there to set you up for the next trade and things like that. You really lean heavily on the guys that are building this thing for you, and not being construction people. It is that's an obstacle I think being taken seriously. But if you treat everyone with respect and kind of let them know up front that, we're not the experts, you guys are, they appreciate that, and they go above and beyond to help you out. So.
Oh, That's good. At least you acknowledge where your skills are, and you ask for help and you trust your team, right? So that's where really is the main point here. So I guess in this time we're just gonna open the floor to we're gonna have an open forum, and anyone of our members would like to speak up and have question. And I think it's a very good resource that. We know that you had this Tarion, and I think a couple of our members here are quite interested of what is that about. So I think we have a message from Lervin here. Can you discuss the use of Tarion? That's something that you can.
Sure. I'll
Yeah,
jump on that. So Tarion is only it's a warranty at the end of the day. And Tarion is only required if you are selling a new home. If you're selling a new home in Ontario, so if you and under this scenario here, under this strategy, you're not selling a new home. You're essentially you're building the house for yourself to rent out. So Tarion is not required. Now, if your intent is to build the house to sell right away, then that's governed by Tarion. Now, listen, if there's any lawyers on the line, maybe hopefully I'm not incriminating myself, but from my understanding, that is the process, and those are the rules that we've played within for the last so many years, and it's been fine.
Yeah, from my understanding is, and like we said, a lawyer would probably be the better one to ask, but if you are not Tarion licensed and you build a home, I believe in Ontario it has to be occupied for at least a year before it can be resold. But again, don't quote us on that, but that was always our impression before we got Tarion licensed.
Yeah, so we only got Tarion licensed. It's a process to get your Tarion license, and if we were only going to build to rent, then more than likely unless our hand was forced, we wouldn't have gotten the Tarion license. We made the decision that we wanted to get in the home building market and build to sell. So that's why we got Tarion registered.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from our team? Any questions? I think Jenny, I think you have a question.
Yeah. So thank you for presenting to our group, and thank you, Dennis, for inviting them. First of all, like when did you acquire Unimore?
I'm sorry.
You mentioned that Unimore, you just acquired a new brokerage company called Unimore.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask, do you know Joe Aioli?
Yes, I know Joe. Yeah, very recently, actually. The acquisition occurred. So very new. Joe Aioli. Yes, I know Joe.
Yeah, he was once for mortgage brokering. So that's what I said, like, it sounds familiar. So probably you are the new owner. So probably you can give us an insight about the mortgage, and probably you could help some of our members here who are planning to buy their first investment property.
Yeah, of course, for sure. We'd be happy to help. What are you asking us? Sorry, are you asking a specific question?
Yeah, exactly for that. Like, because here in this group, there's majority are new investors that wanted to get into their first deal, and probably they will seek for a creative financing that your company would be like, probably help on acquiring those, and a source of information as well. Because the last discussion we have with Joe Aioli is about mortgage brokering, and how to fill up that spot and get more information, what are the requirements to begin with. So that's a good insight for us. But I just have a second follow-up. So you mentioned that with today's market right now, do you have any project that are upcoming that you wanted to build but you find sort of like a constraint. Let's say, do you only specifically built in Windsor? Are you planning to expand in other city? And what's the market look like there?
Sure. I'll address. So to your first point, I think, in terms of the mortgages for investment properties, I mean, that's a whole nother big conversation, I think, and I'd be happy to jump on with you guys again with some of the mortgage agents and mortgage professionals to really to dive into that in greater detail. The beauty with Unimore and what attracted me to Unimore was it's a traditional mortgage brokerage, but in addition to that, they have a mortgage administration license. We have a mortgage administration license, and in our area, we're the only ones from here to London, anyways, to have that. And what that allows us to do is essentially manage money and manage private mortgage investments. So in our area, we are the biggest private mortgage lender, in addition to having the access to the traditional institutional lenders as well. So, I'll be quite honest with you. As far on the institutional side, I am not the expert. There are experts like Joe that can talk in much greater, have a much greater ability to talk on that. I'm sure there's probably mortgage agents in your group that can talk to that. On the private side, I'd be happy to field any questions or getting greater detail or greater conversation with anybody on the line, whether it's here or on a future call. But yeah, and then to your second point, we're right now we're kind of Windsor, Essex, and surrounding areas. So yeah, we haven't expanded outside of that market. Again, it's not that you can't take the strategy and go to another market, but it requires building those relationships and building that Rolodex in that market. Our trades are happy to stick with us and service us from anywhere probably within a, call it, 100-kilometer radius. Outside of that, yeah, you probably have to establish yourself in that specific area. So I hope that somewhat answers your question, Jenny.
Thank you. We do have another question here. Maybe Adrian, can you turn on your mic and ask this question?
I'm actually cooking, but I will. Mom duties.
What are you cooking? That's the first question. What are you cooking?
I'm making tacos. Taco Tuesday. So that's what we're having for dinner. Yeah, I am. I actually just finished a duplex conversion, so we're trying to find the next project as well. I wanted to know, how did you set up your partnership with your financial investors? Is it like 50-50, or do you have more ownership into it, since you are more hands-on and you actually have all the plans and have the credentials to do the construction part? And I do have a few other follow-up questions after that.
Okay. Do you want me to field that one, Vince, or do you?
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I got it all. So if you.
So I think if I'm getting it straight, Adrian, you're asking how do we kind of set up partnerships, anyways. So and financing, I think, really is what I'm getting at. So I think it depends on the project by project basis. Like, we have had equity partners, so we've gone on projects, and more for our Terrion build companies. We've had a few projects where we've come across some money partners that financed the whole project. We did all the work and split the profits 50-50. On our build to rents, we've never actually taken on any kind of financing partner. We've always just, it might be a little more risky because of the cost of financing is expensive, but we've always taken the private lending route. So
partner, I think we've never taken on an equity partner.
We've never taken on an equity partner on our build to rents. We've strictly taken on private loans, and then upon completion, we'd get it mortgaged the traditional route, pay out the private loan, and away we go. And we've basically figured the equity we built into the project through our work more than pays for the cost of the private loan kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not, completely transparent. It is not easy to get traditional financing, to build the unit. When it's all said and done, after the fact, once it's fully constructed, then it's just like getting a mortgage on any rental property that you were to purchase. No different. The only difference is instead of putting the 20% down or whatever it is, you've already built that into the project. But the construction financing is the tricky part. And for the most part, yeah, we've addressed that two ways. It's either private financing or an equity partner.
Okay, we have Elvis. You have a question?
I think Adrian said you had a follow-up question. I don't know if you
actually, you did kind of touch on the second question there. As far as how does the profit split go? So it just basically gets paid off by traditional lending, but to get it started is a private loan. Am I correct?
That has been our approach. Yeah, we've financed it, a construction mortgage privately with a private lender, and then in the end, the private lender was paid out by an institutional mortgage, and that's
amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, so that makes sense. That makes full sense to me. But what about when you take on those loans? Do you have the full say on all of the construction then, or basically you already have a plan in mind and you just ask for the loan to get that going? Is that how you present that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's I'll be honest, that obstacle was a little easier for me. I've been in the finance world for quite a few years here locally, so I know a lot of private lenders, familiar with them, they're familiar with me, so those relationships were there. But that being said, regardless of that, I can tell you there, from my experience, in the construction world, and now from my experience, being in the mortgage world, there's money out there, private money looking for a home. And if you have a plan and looks like you know what you're doing, I mean, these are good projects that private money is happy to invest in at the right rate of return, the right interest rate for that. So the money is out there, no question. It just has to work for you. At the end of the day, the numbers tell the story, right? Not.
And I guess the last thing I wanted to ask is, what would be, since you're working with both the financial and the construction side of things, what would be your best practices to find, first of all, reliable subcontractors, or how do you make sure that they do a quality work without being actually present or keeping an eye on them like 24/7?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, it's referrals. Like it really is, go out there, network, ask questions. You can, if there's builders in your area that you're familiar with, maybe, kind of poke around, get to know who does their work. Ask people. It really is just a big, networking exercise at the end of the day. It's, listen, your first project, you're going to be rolling the dice on some things, no question. But it's just trying to prepare yourself up front as much as possible. Interview your trades, like, have conversations with them, before you select them. I find it's funny. I mean, if they're not very responsive at the beginning, I can promise you they're not going to be very responsive throughout the project. And especially if you're starting out, as much as you want somebody that does good quality work, you want somebody who is responsive to you and understands what you're doing, your situation. You want a partner. At the end of the day, they are your partners just as much as your bank is your financial partner. Your trades are your kind of operational partners.
And we don't get it right all the time either. I can't stress what Vince said. Referrals. We had a recent home we built in Ruthven, Ontario, which is about 40 minutes from us. And we had all our trades lined up. And sure enough, we had to build a deck out the back. And the development said you couldn't build a wooden deck. So we had to build a composite deck, was the only way we could get by the restriction. We had nobody that could build a composite deck. We have another partner in the company, and we just said, can you find someone who can do it? He searched Kijiji. He found two guys. One was really nice. One was really cheap. He went the really cheap route. The deck was nearly falling over when it was all said and done. We had to rip the deck out, pay a guy to rip the deck out and build another one, and away we went. So, I mean, even with experience, we still get it wrong sometimes too. So it really comes down to, it's referrals are key, and maybe just seeing their past work and things like that. But I mean, you could still get it wrong. That is a risk you always run, but it's for the most part, I mean, a good referral goes a long way. It usually turns out right. That was more of a cold call that really hurt us in the long run.
There's still a little mistake flying around, even if you're expert.
For sure.
To learn things, right? So I think
Thank you, guys.
Elvis has a question. Mr. Elvis Jose, you have a question? Okay, I think this is his question. What is the average cost per square feet for new construction using average finishes? What is the ROI on these projects?
This one here,
it changes by the day.
We've been we really have. This is so our home building company Belkaza, we get together once a week and discuss projects, and that's been, this past year has been our biggest obstacle, is trying to figure out exactly what cost to build is, because like Vince said, it's changing by the day. You guys see it with inflation. Everyone's been raising their rates from materials to trades to, so it has been like our last project we've built for about it was about $260 per square foot or something like that.
And then I think the next one we're budgeting at over $3 with price increases. So it really is hard to provide you numbers at the moment. I mean, ultimately, unfortunately, you have to, it's a pricing exercise all the time. You get your plans drawn up, get everything priced out as best you can, get everything quoted out, and your numbers are established that way. Fortunately, the market has been able to absorb the increased costs. Like I said, margins for builders haven't changed. They were making 20% on I should say 15 to 20% 5 years ago, and they're still making 15 to 20%, and it's just on a greater dollar amount. I would say the numbers we kind of work with right now is you can probably look at if you take your cost of construction versus what you could sell the property for, it's about I say $50 to $65 a foot in profit, or if you're holding the property, that would be your your equity, $50 to $65 a square foot.
I have a question with regards to the finishes. So when in your build to rent strategy, do you use like just the minimum finishes, or you go with the average finishes?
I would say I would call it builder grade finishes. So I would say we haven't been building them, as rental specific units. Like we always had, when we started this, always had resale in the back of our mind. So we kind of built them in line with, if a builder was building them, to sell to the, affordable market. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but it's not, we're not looking for, we're not going on, Kijiji or looking, at yard sales for, leftover flooring. We'll go to the flooring store in town but just, get the, what's kind of builder grade or budget flooring that looks half decent.
But still with the rental idea in mind. So typically on our own houses, we would probably do, an engineered hardwood or things like that. But on these units, we would do the vinyl plank all over just for water damage purposes.
Yeah, more so from I say we keep rental. Yeah, rental is front of mind in terms of, durability and wear and tear on the property. But not so much from a cost perspective, I'd say. But again, everybody's strategy could be different, right? Ours was always, okay, what if we want to sell this in 2 years? And back, when we started, it was more so who would buy this, and it wouldn't be an investor, it would have been, a homeowner. So that's kind of the mindset we've had, but no, the market has evolved, and these very well can be rental specific units, and maybe they should be. Maybe that is the right approach.
Anyone else from the team?
Yes. Hi, Dennis. I'd like to ask a follow-up question.
Sure.
Yeah. Have you tried employing a general contractor rather than hiring trades yourselves with your projects?
So, I mean, the biggest reason we did this is to build that initial upfront equity into the project. And what that is the 20%, or, that the general contractor would charge you. Now, that being said, that's just a general rule, right? If you can find somebody to project manage for you at, call it a fixed dollar amount, or a percentage that makes sense, then yeah, by all means, that's a fair strategy. For example, we've recently hired for our new home building company, a site supervisor that, we pay hourly, and it's paid off in spades. It's the best investment we ever made, to be honest with you. But that being said, he is a site supervisor. He doesn't know how to build a house. If he's learning, but he doesn't know all the processes and everything involved. But if we were to hire, a home builder, for example, another home builder to manage our build to rents, well, we'd essentially be shifting our sweat equity to him, or him or her. So yeah, you could. I mean, and if you have the right relationships, maybe you can find an arrangement that works.
Okay. Can I ask another question?
Yeah, of course.
I'd like to go back to the strategy that you have about private lenders, from borrowing money from the private lenders to finance your projects. How do they release the money? Do they release the full amount upfront, or they do it in installment basis depending your progress of work?
Yeah, typically, I mean, again, this is all lender specific, but for the most part, it's in draws. So at the most, I guess, formal approach, it would be, you get an appraisal up front, saying, let's just say, the project is worth $1 million on an as if complete basis. So the lender's going to say, okay, I'll give you a construction mortgage of 80%, so 800,000, and that will get released on a percentage of completion basis. So, for example, say you're 20% complete. An appraiser comes out, the same appraiser that appraised it up front will come out and confirm that the project is 20% complete, and the lender will then give you 20% of the $800,000 mortgage.
So basically you're saying is out of your pocket will be at least 20%. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, say it again.
So it will be out of that 1 million, for example, $200,000 will be coming out of your pocket. Is that correct?
Not really, no, because again, remember the sweat equity piece to this. So your project is getting appraised at $1 million, but really it's only costing you $800,000 to build.
Plus interest on the loan. Call it.
Yeah. So really, I mean, and again, this is all lender specific, right? I mean, there may be another lender out there that says, I don't care what it appraises at. I only want to give you a loan for, what it's going to cost you. But I can tell you that there's, many lenders out there that will take the appraised value, understanding that, you're building in equity in that project.
Great. Thank you for the answers, guys.
No problem.
Just to follow up on that, so basically, because it's released by draw, just to kick off the project, you should have funds in your own pocket to sustain the contractor. Or
for sure, yeah. Especially, listen, if it's your first build, and these are again conversations to have with your trades. But if it's your first build and you want to build that goodwill with them. Nothing builds goodwill more than being a fast payer. The faster you pay them, the more they like you. But that being said, trades are willing to work with you as well, and and understand that payment terms are important to everybody. So oftentimes with certain trades, yeah, they're okay being paid 30, 60, even 90 days after they're done their work. But again, that's all part of your own build plan, I guess. But to your point, I mean, yeah, the right answer is to, even if in the end your forecast is not to be out of pocket any money or much money, you still should have that money on the sidelines just in case.
That's great. All right. Anyone else? Sir Tom, you have a question?
Okay, just a quick one. Thanks, Mike and Vince. For that project, how long do you think you will keep that rental property with you? Like any specific years that you want to hold the property, or you want to sell it after 5 years, even if it's tenant?
I think we've constantly, every time we sell something, and actually I should say every time Vince sells something, he regrets it every time, right? And it's been one of those where the goal is to, once you get an asset, to keep it for life has kind of been our, I think, our goal. We just believe in hard assets as something that I think every Canadian needs and not many have. So the goal is to keep as many as you can, but I mean, things come up, right? Sometimes you want to cash in to take on some other project or maybe upgrade your personal residence or something like that. So I think every rental we have, we've never really had a plan on how long to hold it. We just always, we just want to have that option to have good resale value, but really, I mean, the plan is to hold it for as long as we can, and hopefully pass a few to our kids and so forth. So
yeah 100%. Like the goal was always, even though we almost as a backup plan have I like to have resale in mind, but the goal was never to sell. It was always to hold on long term, and then you know, as you guys have seen, I mean, it takes discipline not to sell when you see these values going up, and, you know, the opportunity is there, and, you know, but, you know, to Mike's point, I have regretted everything I've sold. So, but we build them with the intent of holding for the long term.
Right. Thank you. Have you encountered any bad tenants?
Honestly, no. And that's like, so we did this before ever buying, you know, an older unit as a rental. So, you know, all the horror stories you hear from people with respect to, you know, being a landlord, we laugh. Like, we've never had those issues. We've never experienced that because, and we just chalk it up to, because our properties are new. They're new, and we were able to, you know, pick the tenant we want, and the tenant we've picked has seemed to have respected the property and treated it like their own. So quite honestly, no. I mean, we haven't had, we don't have. I don't know, Mike. Am I wrong here? I can't honestly can't think of your story.
On a build to rent, no. We also have a partner that we do mobile homes with. He's been a mentor of ours, Rob Mint, and those we've had our fair share of issues, but it's been a whole different ball game because it's something on our website with our members. We share that strategy as well, a whole different strategy. But those we've had issues with payments, and not so much horror stories, just collecting on payments. But I mean, we're willing to go through that with those because the price point's a lot lower, and we're not leveraged with a mortgage that we have to pay on those and whatever. But that's why we love the build to rent, because like Vince said, like, we haven't on these things, we haven't run into an issue. The tenants are actually they're awesome. It's and that's why we love these new builds for rentals. The tenants are they're fantastic. But yeah, on our mobile homes, it's been another story. We just had an issue. We just had to go, Rob, actually, our partner, he had to go and grab payments that they were back 2 months or whatnot. But that's a whole different animal. So.
Nice. Congrats to you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Anyone else? Who do we have here? Mr. Arnie, do you have any question? You can unmute yourself.
I think he just sent a message saying he's good. He found it.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it. I was actually more interested on trying to understand. Right now, I'm just listening in. So thank you so much, guys, for sharing your experiences. Much appreciated what you have shared so far.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to us.
Yeah. Okay. So we still have time left here. So yeah. But if we want to wrap up.
I actually have one more question.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead, Adrian.
Do you have any recommendations on the best markets or cities that we can implement this strategy on?
I think our market works. It's still work. I think it's we're not familiar with every market in Ontario, or even less so in the country. But our market still works, and I don't know. There might be individuals in your group who are investing in our market, because it seems like the GTA has descended upon the Windsor Essex market. So it still works in our market. Works, not quite as well as it did 5-6 years ago, but nothing works as well as it did 5-6 years ago. You just have to get a little more creative with it. But yeah, it works.
To chime in, I'm a big believer in the outflows from the big cities. So like in our area, we dealt a lot in like Windsor and LaSalle townships. Those are getting pricey, but we're seeing a lot of opportunities just 20-30 minutes away into the counties. So like your Essex area, your Cottoms, your Kingsvilles. You guys might not be familiar with the area, but these are all just the outskirts of our city. And I think that's working everywhere. Like I look at like the Londons, I think you get more value in like your St. Thomas or your Chathams. Toronto, I think you get more value in your St. Catharines and Hamiltons and things like that. I think that's the move on these rentals is you can get land for a little cheaper, and we're low supply all over Ontario anyways. So I think you're seeing a lot of renters going to those little more affordable areas. Just they're willing to drive to get that more affordable rent. So I think area specific. I think if things are getting pricey in your area, look that hour and a half range. I think it would really help. But I don't know. That's just me kind of spitballing. That's kind of where we've been focusing now. The last 2 years has been the county just outside of the Windsor area has been our focus the last couple of years.
I have a question. Arnie here.
For sure.
Let me just put my I'm struggling here how to put my video on, but anyhow, for many of us here, we're new investors. I, for one, are into multifamily homes, currently tenanted, but I do find your strategy exciting, something to learn. And I was just wondering, for some of us probably who are just quiet here in this podcast, or rather in this conversation, would you be open for, like, one of the best ways for us to learn probably is to, like, piggy bank with people who are already experienced in their whatever strategies they're doing. Would you guys be like opening your doors for some collaborations or some joint ventures where people can learn and then like get into get ourselves wet in this type of investment?
It's great. Yeah, great question. And I don't know if it's one we have an answer for right this moment, but listen, we're open to anything. So I mean, if it's something you're interested in, I mean, you please reach out, direct. I mean, offline here, and we can have a conversation. It's not something we set out to do in a sense. We weren't looking to go out and search for partners, but I mean, hey, if there's a win-win somewhere, I mean, we're big proponents of this, and would love to see to see others kind of have success in it as well. But yeah, I mean, I guess it just has to make sense. But for sure, happy to have a further conversation with anybody in the group, or a group of you together.
Thank you.
Great question.
Adrian, you have?
Oh, I was giving them an applause, but thank you so much, because we really appreciate this Q&A, because this has been actually probably a fourth or fifth now talk, and we just keep on learning more and more. So, and this is a whole new strategy as well for us. So thank you guys again.
No, our pleasure, guys. I can't tell you how inspired I am by you guys. Like this what you guys are doing is awesome. I mean, it really is, and how it's kind of, or it seems like it's organically evolved into, from a small to a big group of all like-minded people. I mean, this is what all the textbooks tell you to do, all the books you read, but it's hard to have success the way you have and build a group like this. So good for you guys.
Yeah, and just to add
Definitely
to
learning.
yeah, and I think it's one topic over another topic. It's something that we learn, because in this market right now, I think it's very competitive. and you got to be flexible of, what other direction that, you think that you could get your success in. And I think this is something that it's new to us. And rather than bidding to this property, like, why not build? But at the back of our mind, there's still some hesitations, like, okay, what if, like, what is this development piece, what is this? But I think from what we see for both of you guys, like, not really into the construction mindset, but you've done this one, right? So it's something that we can say that anything is possible.
Yeah, especially if we can do it, anything is possible, really.
Yeah, and we appreciate your time, guys. So yeah, so we have a couple of time here, so I'm not sure the rest of the members or last questions.
I guess I will throw the questions for you for the brothers as well. And thank you very much for having this event very informative to our members. So what can you advise for the group here, especially for those starting up that wanted to learn and get into building their own team in pre-construction or customized home? And probably their first thing that they need to do is find a lot. But aside from that, what are the steps to learn from it based from your experience? Just like, a summary.
I think once you have a lot, it's coming up with the construction plan and building your Rolodex of trades to help you execute that plan. I mean, there's a lot of books you can read and things like that. We have resources on our website. We have a course, we call it the Build to Rent course, that just kind of gives you the Excel sheet that you need to have your construction plan. But once you have that lot and you think you're ready to build, it's start from point A to point Z to get that construction done. And it's really just having the plan, having the timeline, and having your trades in place to meet that timeline.
And I mean, that Excel spreadsheet you're referring to is, I think you're downplaying the value and importance of it. I mean, it really is A to Z on how to build a house. And again, building a house is really it's just a step-by-step process. And we got that checklist from books that we read, and it evolved with our experience on our home builds, and we've added in what's additional steps and remove steps, and in your market there might be some steps that are different than what's in our market, but ultimately that's all this really is again just project management and following a plan. So as long as you can establish that plan up front, that's really the key. It's your successes will be, how successful you are in the project will be determined by how much preparation you do up front. I think that's kind of my main advice.
Yeah, the key, I mean, our whole job is really who to call next. Like that that really is our whole job. Like today, tile guy started at our unit. The first thing, and our flooring just finished, the first thing we did was call the kitchen cabinet company to make sure that they're ready for the next week or two to come in and install. And the minute that they show up, the next thing we do is we call the countertop guy to make sure he comes and installs. And the next thing is call the electrician. It's really just a matter of figuring out, once you have your plan, knowing who to call next. And that's
it's really going down that checklist that we've already established that tells us what to do next.
Yeah.
It's kind of become second nature at this point, but I'll be honest, I still reference back to it.
It's a project management skills, and you have to learn how to delegate.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. That is 99% of the game.
Delegate. If you can't do it, give it to the others.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that on that note, again, Vince and Mike, appreciate you, and I'm glad I found you over the internet.
Yeah, how did you
Uh,
find us, Dennis? If you don't mind me asking, I never asked you. Was it just a Google search or?
Yes, because I was just like trying to, research on what other strategy that, with this market is a difficult market. And I just thought of, maybe we can, build and then rent it out. And then boom, I found you guys.
Gotcha.
So,
Very
and you're the only group that I searched for. So it's and I guess this is not the traditional type of strategy. So that's why your group just pop up, and I said I think, and especially here in Ontario. So it's kind of related, and we can see that it's actually happening here in Ontario. So yeah, so you're on the top of the list there when you
very cool.
search
Very,
there.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah, very cool. That's it's been just a hobby of ours. We've learned so much through alternative financial educations. I mean, we have university degrees, but we find a lot more just reading online, and we just it became a hobby of we learned so much. Let's start sharing some of that knowledge. So yeah, no, it's very cool that you found us. But yeah, if you guys are interested in learning any more, I mean, there's only so much time in the day, but that's kind of why we built our website. There's articles, books, reports, courses, all of that. And then we do have a monthly membership where we offer a monthly newsletter. It's a 14-page newsletter we write with, he was a mentor of ours, Rob Minton out of Ohio, called the Cash Flow Nair. And then we started with him a newsletter. We call it the Canadian Cash Flow Nair. So kind of just a spin off on his newsletter and give a kind of a Canadian spin on it. If you guys want to just check it out, we offered you guys a free one to take a look at, the May edition we just wrote. So you can go to that link there and you just sign up for it, and then you'll get an email with a link to the page and the password that our members need to type in. So you guys can check that out, and then normally that subscription's $34.99, but me and Vince said we agreed to just to show you guys an issue there, and then we're always like an email away if anyone has a question. Like, we're open books. We might not get back to you right away because like we said, there's only so much time in the day, but yeah, no, we're more than open to questions or anything like that. So thanks for having us.
Yeah, and give our regards to Joe Aioli, who was our previous speaker here from Capre Group. And then we would request Dennis if you could just download that free link to the website so they can learn. And if they're interested, they can always go for the paid one later on.
Very cool.
We appreciate the special offer. Yeah, thank you very much.
I have one last concern. Mike and Vince, it's PayPal that the payment system is PayPal. Is there other options? Because some of us, I don't like PayPal for some reason.
I think you can just pay by credit card direct. If not,
it doesn't allow me. I wanna get those. How you are offering there like 10 free stuff to read or something to learn. So I want to grab them. I want to learn more. So, but
it's
it
okay,
says PayPal.
Sir Arnie. I have a PayPal account. You can pay me. I'll help
Arnie,
you.
you don't like Elon Musk? He was the founder of PayPal.
No, Jenny, I got hacked there somehow. So
and the worst thing is we are not tech savvy. We had a gentleman set up the website for us, and we just manage it. We basically just add our monthly newsletter and write our blog posts, and that's it. Okay. So I wish I could help you out in another sense, but I'm like, I honestly know it's all automatic, and he set it up through PayPal, so I apologize.
That's okay. Dennis is gonna give it to me free. So
well, good man, Dennis, you're a good man.
Guys, are you saying that the newsletter is actually a print that will come?
No, it's a PDF. It's a PDF.
It's a PDF.
So,
that's
yeah.
fine.
So you'll see when you sign up for the free one, that's what you'll get. You'll get an email. The emails, I mean, this email is not the email that you typically get, but anyways, it's an email that comes in. It gives you a link to the new month and a password to access it. So you get that every month. And then that's it's a 14-page newsletter, and then we share some other resources that we think are helpful. So it's just us kind of spitting out our knowledge every month, what we're seeing in the economy, what we're, new strategies we've tried out, or even some of our members have tried out, or like I said, it's partially or it's co-written by our mentor Rob in Ohio, and a lot of it is strategies. He's got some funky strategies that he tries out. The June one is not real estate specific, but I know he's been trying an automated crypto investing platform that he's been loving. He's been talking to us for the last 3 months. So he told us he's writing about it in June. So just some funky things, but everything's basically specific to investing for cash flow rather than, appreciation, like your mutual funds and things like that. That's the whole idea of the newsletter.
Okay.
All right. I guess, no, what can I say? Again, thanks again, guys. And it was a knowledgeable night, and all of the members here are quite lucky that we're able to hear this night's event. So hopefully the rest of you, the members, have gotten a lot of information tonight, and we'll provide Vince and Mike's information. We're gonna post it in our Facebook group, and if any one of you wants to reach out to them directly, feel free. And so that's it for tonight. And again, thanks everyone for joining. And Mike and Vince, thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. Thank you guys. Good luck with everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.